All right. Hi, everybody. Teacher Taya here, back with another lesson for all the parents, mothers, and especially single mothers like myself. I have a question for you today. Do you trust your kids? If so, I would think that it's because of something they've done or said that caused you to reach this point in your relationship. But if not, my guess would also be because of something that they've done or said. And a few thoughts that come to mind are disobedience, rebelliousness, and defiance. Those are just a few of the thoughts that come to my mind as to why I wouldn't trust my kid. But my other question is this: do your kids trust you? And I ask myself that question because of some things that I guess have happened recently that kind of caused me to think in this from this perspective. So my daughter often comes to me and tells me, things that happen with her and friends or her and some of her classmates, situations where maybe she didn't really know what to do or how to respond. Sometimes it's schoolwork. She's not getting things, not understanding it, the way that it's being explained to her. But whatever it is she's coming to me with these issues. And I'm giving her advice. I'm giving her thoughts. I'm giving her suggestions. I'm giving her what I think, would help her to maneuver these issues and just have better outcomes. And when I ask again, to check up on her as to how these things are going, if she's still struggling with those things, I ask, well, did you do what I said? Or did you try, what I suggested? And then her response, sometimes is no, not really, no. And so I was like, okay, I'm at this point kind of confused. But one time she came back to me just recently and said, hey, Mom, do you remember that I was dealing with, I don't remember what it was, but whatever it was, she came back to me to tell me that she had actually taken my advice. She had actually done what I had talked to her about, what I had told her to do, what I had suggested to her. And I asked, well, what was the outcome? And she was like, it was good, like it worked out. And at that moment, I was happy, for her, but also confused as to why it took her so long to follow my advice, to take my word and do what I said, to handle it the way that I suggested. And the thought came to me that there's a trust issue, that maybe she didn't trust what I was saying and that what I was saying was going to produce the outcome. She didn't believe that my word was true. And so, as always, that helped me to reflect back on my relationship with God. Do I trust him? Do I trust him at his word? So I was reminded of this verse, Psalm 33, verse 4, and I'm going to read it because I don't have it memorized. In the New Living Translation, it says, for the word of the Lord holds true, and we can trust everything he does. The word of the Lord holds true, and we can trust everything he does. So that word of the Lord, the way I understand it, is that it's when he speaks to me, when he communicates with me, the words that are written in Scripture, in the Bible, these are his words, and that his words are true. Not only that, but I can trust everything he does. That means there's action that go along with that. And so when I think back to the situation with my daughter, my words were true, and I thought that my actions, would show that she could trust everything that I was doing, but maybe there was some kind of disconnect there. And I don't think I've ever intentionally done anything to build trust. Not that I can think of. Like maybe I do it unintentionally without real thought. But because I always consider myself trustworthy, I think I thought that she would naturally trust me. But if there's some trust issues there, then I think it's partly my responsibility to do what I can to build that trust between us. So I was reading an article that gave 10 tips on how to build trust in relationships. And one of the tips that stuck out to me said, use trust elevating communication. And then that was described or defined as owning your message, your actions, and your mistakes. That's one way to build trust, is to own your message, your actions, and your mistakes. For me, I think I have intentionally tried to do that, but maybe not as much as I thought. Owning my message, meaning believing that what I'm telling her is true. Owning my actions, being careful and mindful as to my behaviors when I'm around her, and even when I'm not around her, but when it's visible to her, owning those actions, making sure that I'm doing things that line up with my message, what I'm telling her. Make sure that if I tell her that when a friend does or says something to you, when you do something to a friend that's offensive to them, you should apologize. Well, then I myself have to own that message and then my action with that, meaning she has to see me apologize when I offend someone. That's just one example. And then owning my mistakes, meaning just, admitting when I've messed up. And I think I've shared this in another video that I'm quick to say, hey, I messed up. That's my bad. I'm human. I messed up and I'll try to do better. I have always tried to do that with her, but that doesn't mean that I've got it perfectly down. So I'm learning from this. And that's where my encouragement to you is. Build that trust with your child so that they can trust you. And then I also look at it from this perspective. I'm the parent. I want my child to trust me. God is the parent. He wants us to trust him. We can trust him. Our kids can trust us. But there are things that he does and says that helps us to trust him. Just like there are things that we do and say that will help our child to trust us. And I've taken to another verse, Psalm 78, and it's actually the whole psalm is really good, but I'm not going to read it to you, but I did want to point out kind of those first few verses of this psalm. And in it, it's telling the older generation to teach the children and the generations to come the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, his power, and the wonders he has done. Teach them to the children so that the next generation will know, and then the children yet to come, so that they in turn will teach their children. And then they would put their trust in God and would not forget his deeds, but would keep his commands. They will not be like the ancestors who were stubborn and rebellious. Well, when we own our mistakes, that's what we're doing. We're telling them of the time when we were once rebellious, stubborn, defiant, all of those things that I said earlier. We're telling them that, but also sharing the point of turn. That's owning our message, with our actions. So all of that will help to build that trust. And it helps me. I'm not just telling you, I'm telling myself this as well. I'm learning this as well. It helps. And then the last thing that I wanted to point out, another tip from the 10 tips to building trust in relationships, was to operate in the fruit of the Spirit. Now, the tips didn't actually say fruit of the Spirit. They actually listed out some words which I recognize as fruit of the Spirit. Showing compassion, kindness, being patient. Those things help to build trust. So we know, if we know scripture, that those are actually fruit of the Spirit. So I'm just putting it in my own words and saying, operate in the fruit of the Spirit. When you're with your kids, give them patience and kindness and compassion. This will help. And I can't say that there's a total distrust between my daughter and myself, but just that moment in that situation, I guess, it just kind of highlighted a little bit for me that maybe we could do some work in the area of trust, just to make sure that the trust that she has in me is solid, is firm, so that as she gets older, she'll start to recognize and be able to build trust in other relationships. outside of me. But even more so than that, that she can identify and build her trust in God. And that's where the teaching comes from. So I guess to sum it up, just my encouragement to you is to build the trust that your kids have in you. This relationship is not one-sided. So make sure that you're not only trusting them, but that they trust you. That's it. So I thank you for watching and listening. I hope that this was helpful to you. And if it was, please share it with someone else who you think it could help as well. And I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.